Hello everyone and welcome to the conclusion of the second litter of the Lakeshore Pack, aka our Ultra Ironwolf series. As you can see, Maple here has minus $2 stats and she's not allowed to take age perks. She must always play on accurate, and on top of that she is an Ironwolf, as you can see on the family tree. We also have here her mate Hope. From the first litter, we lost our first mate, and Hope really stepped up. He kind of adopted the pups from Branch, Maple's previous mate, and then this year the two of them had pups of their own, and this is the result. All 6 of them somehow survived, despite 4 of the 6 ending up getting sick along the way. It was kind of a wild time, but let's go ahead and we'll take a look at them and then we'll age them up. And in the description of this video you'll be able to find a poll, or rather 2 polls to vote for which wolf you want to see. The first between Bracken, Lucky, and Spirit, the second between Pine, Wish, and Forest, and eventually whoever wins each of those polls will run against each other to be determined to determine the winner of the litter as a whole, who will then go up against the heirs from the other litters. And yeah, we'll see down the line. You'll see how it all works. But let's take a look at the pups. So first off, we have Bracken, who it looks like a pretty neutral stats. A lot of the stats are kind of interesting because of Maple's, but none of them are her -2s. They're all the neutral stat spread that we see, and we don't have a runt this time. I don't know if we had a runt last time actually either, but we didn't this litter. So none of them have the significantly lowered stats there. So Bracken has 1 stamina but -1 speed, and the other stats are neutral, so fairly tame stat spread there. What does Hope have exactly? -1 strength and +1 speed. Good to know. Next up we have Lucky, who has -1 strength and 1 stamina, which is interesting, neutral speed and health. We have Spirit, who has -2 strength, 2 stamina, 1 speed, and -1 health. She has a bit more of a pronounced stat spread than the others do. We also have Pine, who has 1 strength but -1 health, and the other stats are neutral. Oh, she got that eyebrow coat. I wonder what that's gonna look like aged up. I don't actually know. We also have Wish, who has the same stats, 1 strength, no stamina or speed, and -1 health. So definitely a bit of a stronger wolf, which kind of fits her feisty personality. And then lastly, we have Forest, who has no strength but 2 stamina, -1 speed, and -1 health. We see more boost to stamina in this pack, it feels like, than we do in almost any other. I wonder if that's Hope's genetics, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that most of our wolves are boosted in everything except stamina, so that we're seeing more of it here. But I'm going to go ahead and age these guys up. They all will be Iron Wolves, and as per the previous video, they won't each have their own challenges. Whichever one inherits the pack will also inherit the next challenge that is coming up, which is gonna be a doozy. Whenever we finish Ultra Iron Wolf, I'm excited to see how this next one goes, because oh my goodness, I think it might be a more difficult challenge, but we'll have to see. All right, we have aged up the pups, and first off here we have Bracken, who very notably has a heck of a set of scars. He has one of the Life is Rough coat packs. This is a variant of, I want to say either 778M or Middle Gray. I can't remember exactly which one, but I think it's one of the two. He also has these really pretty kind of orangey eyes. They definitely suit his coat, and they do stand out. They're kind of like embers. It feels like glowing embers. And let's go ahead. We'll listen to his howls. Oh, he got that nice classic one. And then for his secondary, ooh, that's a really high-pitched one. Now, these characteristics, except for the radio collar, aren't inherited, but as per the usual, if you guys remember my Patreon, you'll have this chance to submit ideas. There will be a link to a post on Patreon in the video description that has this video in it, where you could submit ideas and have a chance of them being used. Whenever we pick an heir, I'll go through and look at any ideas for that wolf and potentially end up adding them to the character as part of the story. So if you think that maybe he didn't just get a scar on his face, he also has a torn ear or a notched ear or something like that, then you could add that in there. Maybe it'll be something that gets added down the line if he ends up being the heir. But that is also an option. So as for his stats, though, we already saw these. So +1 stamina, -1 speed, pretty neutral stats. And of course, he was the 4M member of the Lakeshore Pack. So that is Bracken. Next up, we have Lucky. And ooh, she got a really cool coat as well. She has the big blaze coat, 838M, and some very dark colored eyes as well. They're very chocolatey. They kind of blend in with the brown markings around her face. Very, very pretty coat. Let's go ahead, we'll listen to her howls. Ooh, that's a nice deeper one. And then for her secondary. Ooh, dramatic. And as always, we don't see any customizations here except for the radio collar, which she didn't get. Her stats are -1 strength, but +1 stamina, and she had quite the story. She ended up falling ill very early in the litter, but she survived on 2% health, so very much lived up to her name. There's a reason we gave it to her. She also got lost along the way and tried to pop out of the grass during a bear attack. She was a feisty little thing for sure, and I think she'd probably be an equally feisty adult. Also, as a side note, if you want a brief compilation of all this information that you're getting here, plus some additional details, like perhaps if these wolves have any preferences, territory size, or if there are anything that there's particularly afraid of, or that they really don't like, a certain type of predator or whatever, you can find a spreadsheet with that in the video description, as well as, of course, the link to the polls. But that is Lucky. Next up we have Spirit, and she got the Luna coat. We haven't seen that quite as frequently as we did for a while there, but it is still a very, very solid coat. I do love black on white designs, and the legs and the little black socks are so cute. She also got kind of those emberish eyes as well, very, very dark, and kind of, well, very, very, against the dark coat, they kind of burn is what I'm saying. Like, I just, that's so pretty. Let's go ahead and listen to her howls as well. Ooh, that is also a deeper one. And then for her secondary. Oh, a bit of a higher pitched one. So she's got some range there. Again, no customizations here. She didn't get the radio collar, but you can find a link to submit ideas for that in the video description. As for her stats, she has quite the extreme stat spread, -2 strength, +2 stamina, +1 speed, and -1 health. And she also had quite the story as well. She was definitely a wanderer. She did also get sick right at the end of the litter, right in the last episode, had a bit of a scare with that, but she did survive at around 15% health. Now, these first 3 wolves will be running against each other in one poll. The next 3 wolves that we're about to take a look at will make up the second poll for the litter, and then in a little bit, the winners of those 2 polls will run against each other to determine which candidate for this litter is going to be. So next up, branching off into the second poll, let's go ahead and take a look at Pine. And oh my goodness, she looks so much like her mom. She doesn't have the ear customization, at least not yet, but she does have that same coat, which we see here is the 21M Founder's coat. She even has similar colored eyes, I'm pretty sure. I think they're a little bit more yellow than Maple's, perhaps. But let's go ahead and listen to her howls as well. Slight bit of a deeper one there, and then for secondary. Wait, did I click the wrong one? Oh, interesting. I think she got the same howl. I didn't even know that the same howl was included on both sets, so I guess she has the same howl for both ones. I have never seen that happen before. That's wild. Again, she's not going to have any customizations here. She didn't roll the radio collar, but you do have the chance to submit ideas for that on the post on the Patreon. That's linked in the video description. And then for her stats here, she has +1 strength and -1 health, so fairly neutral. Not quite a 0 spread, but not that extreme either. As for her story, she was quite the wanderer too, and she did fall ill at one point in the litter. However, she did survive, of course. Just before leaving for the rendezvous site, she got better. She also poked her head out of the grass during a bear attack and almost got herself into trouble with that. So that is Pine. And next up we have Wish. And Wish has the classic, one of the classic Blacktail Plateau one of the classic blacktail I can't talk blacktail deer plateau pack, the unknown coat from that, which I'm pretty sure is one we've seen show up before. I think Kaya had this one, and I think Peregrine also did. So it's very, very classic coat from the 2.7 release, but definitely a very, very pretty one. And as for her eyes, she also got a little bit of the burning orangey kind of color, but a little slight bit less bright. Let's also listen to her howls here. Evie wants to join in, apparently. Hello, Evelyn. You want to join in on this? You think you're a wolf who gets to howl? She's just looking at me. But anyway, that is Wish's secondary, or her primary, and then for her secondary. Ooh, a bit of a shorter one for her secondary there. Did not get the radio collar. Again, there'll be a link in the video description for these to the post on the Patreon. And as for her stats, she has a +1 to her strength and a -1 to her health, but overall fairly neutral. Now, as for her story, she has quite a story. She fell ill, but she survived on 15% right at the break of dawn, as several of our puppies did. She also wandered off and got lost at the first den. She liked to hang out outside the den even while Hope was inside with the other puppies. And not to mention that, she wandered out of the grass during a bear attack and got snatched, but we were able to rescue her, even though Hope got into a bit of a tight spot because of it. So she has been a bit of a wild child with quite the story behind her, and somehow, amazingly, she did manage to make it to adulthood. But that has been Wish. And finally, we have one last pup in the litter that we're going to take a look at, which is Forest. And he got one of the Lamar Canyon coats. He actually has the 926F coat here. Very, very pretty one. Very classic. Definitely, like, man, I'm complimenting all of these, and I'm going to keep doing it because they're all amazing. He also got kind of darker brown eyes. I'm pretty, like, kind of, it seems like a kind of a blend of Maples and Hope's, I'm pretty sure, because Hope has more orangey eyes, doesn't he? I think so. And Maples are pretty dark. That's, I think, where this color keeps coming from, is it's kind of a blend of the two. Then let's listen to his howls. Slight bit of a deeper one. And then as for his secondary, ooh, that one's higher pitched. Now, also, he does not have the radio collar customization, but once again, there is a link in the video description if you have any interest in submitting ideas there. As for his stats, he has a lot of stamina, not as much speed, and not as much health, so not a super extreme split, but he's still got quite the boost to his stamina. And he seemed like he was one of the most chill pups in the litter, and kind of I think he seemed pretty close with his dad. He liked to hang out in the den, and Hope often joined him there, even when his sisters were running wild outside sometimes. But that is the second litter of the Lakeshore Pack. Whichever wolf you guys decide from this, or whichever two, and then whichever one you decide from between the two, will go on to be the candidate for this litter for inheriting our Ironwolf legacy. And of course, you can find a link to the poll, as well as to the quick reference sheet that has all of this information, as well as stats and things in the video description. But that's going to conclude this poll, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. But until then, this is Jay, over and out.